Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. So I get this question a lot. Is 24/7 pain or symptoms still TMS, meaning mind body, right? Because a lot of people hear others go, well, if pain comes and goes, then it's TMS. So they say, well, mine doesn't. I always have it. And therefore, it can't be TMS. But that's not true. It's not a definitive rule that symptoms need to come and go in order to qualify for TMS, perceived danger pain. Symptoms can come and go. They can be constant. What's the variable? Fear. If your fear and attention is constant, guess what's going to be constant? Your symptoms. So, forgot to do the little relax your body and breathe. It's a gorgeous day today. Not too hot. And for whatever reason, the cicadas, they've calmed down a little bit, not screaming, which is nice. Past week, every time I go out to shoot a video, they're outside screaming. I don't really like that noise for the videos, for your sake and mine. So, is 24/7 pain or symptoms TMS? PDP, perceived danger, pain, or symptoms. First of all, I often question, are you sure your symptoms are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Can you sleep? Because if you can sleep, they typically shut off, right? Because symptoms at night can wake us up. And my example is, you ever wake up with a toothache in the middle of the night? Pain will wake you up. So if you can sleep, you inevitably don't have 24/7 symptoms. You may have symptoms when you are awake, but that's different from 24/7. I also get a lot of people saying, I've got 24/7, 10 out of 10 pain. Okay. 10 out of 10 pain is kind of like the worst ever possible. And if you're functioning and moving around or not laying in bed screaming, it's probably not a 10 out of 10 because it can always be worse. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody, but 10 out of 10 pain is like screaming, get me to the hospital, give me drugs, put me under, do something. And I know that symptoms can get pretty darn severe. But even the day that I was 14 hours stuck on the floor, every time I'd try to move or get up, I'd get that wave of spasm, kind of like a Charlie horse, but in my back. Even that, I'd have to say, was not a 10 out of 10. I don't know that I've ever in my life experienced a 10 out of 10. Now, don't get me wrong, it was extreme. It was pretty tough, to the point where I was kind of locked on the floor. I wasn't willing to keep on trying to get up because it kept on hurting at a high degree. But it wasn't 10 out of 10. So when we have a high degree of pain that we really hate, we are afraid of, I'll say we tend to exaggerate the consistency and the intensity. So whenever somebody says, I've got 24/7, 10 out of 10 pain, I'll say, how come you're not in the hospital? And they're sitting on a group coaching call, for example. And I'm not doubting the intensity of the symptoms because I've experienced it. But I'm just suggesting that by exaggerating 10 out of 10, 24/7, what you're doing is telling yourself a story that is adding to the fear and creating more danger. Instead of saying, yeah, my pain gets pretty intense, but it's not 10 out of 10. And I'm blessed. I can sleep. So it's not 24/7. And inevitably, when I start asking some of these people, wow, what do you mean 24/7? I said, when you wake up, is it there? Nah, it usually waits in a half an hour to an hour before it comes around. Then it's not 24/7. Come on, folks. Don't exaggerate. And I'm not saying that to make you feel bad for exaggerating. I'm saying it because when you exaggerate the intensity and persistence of the symptoms, you're creating more fear and perceived danger. You're making it into a thing that's bigger Now I get how annoying it is and how troublesome it is and how you sometimes can't take a step without feeling it or wincing in pain. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But it's not 24/7. And so, even if it is persistent from the minute you wake up until the minute you go to sleep, it's usually because the two things that are fueling symptoms, fear and attention, are persistent as well. And, some folks will argue with me, I'm not afraid of my symptoms, I just hate them. Okay, I get it. Is hate, is I'm really annoyed by it, are those things in the safety column or in the danger column? Right? You may not have overt fear of the symptoms, but if you're annoyed by it or hate the symptoms or just really wish they would go away, that's perceived danger. Because what you're saying is, I don't like it. I gotta get rid of it because it's pissing me off. That's danger. Safety looks more like this. Okay, they're here today, but I know what they're caused by. False alarm in the brain perceiving danger incorrectly. I know it's temporary, so I'm not concerned about it. And if they're here today, so what? I've got 100% track record of making it through every single bad day I've ever had. So I know I'm going to make it through today, so why should I get worked up mentally and emotionally about something that I know is a false alarm, which is temporary, and I'm on the path, and I'm working a proven process to get rid of it. So why should I be overly upset about it? Now, some people will say, I'm not sure I can do this. If you're convinced that you're not capable of teaching your brain that you're actually okay, you just haven't practiced enough. That's like somebody, first week of piano lessons, they're saying, I don't think I can learn to play the piano. Well, how much are you practicing? And how long are you willing to stick with it? As I would venture to say, whether you end up being a virtuoso piano player or not, if you keep on practicing a little bit a day, 15, 20, 30 minutes a day, consistently every day, you're going to learn eventually to play the piano at some level. So, it's important to recognize that teaching your brain to turn off the symptoms because you're really not in danger in the first place, and what we're trying to do is teach the brain that, hey, we're really not in harm's way here. There's nothing harmful going on. Yesterday's video, all bark and no bite. That's the way it works. Dr. Sarno was very strong in his presentation that TMS is benign. It leaves no damage to the body. So, really, really important. When you say, I have 24/7 pain, so it can't be TMS, well, first of all, are you exaggerating? If you say, I've got 10 out of 10 pain, are you exaggerating? And I'm not saying that in an insulting way. I'm just saying, speaking about your symptoms in a way that creates more fear is counterproductive. It will delay recovery. But yes, symptoms can be around from the minute you wake up till the minute you go to sleep, and evaluate how much attention and fear is present on the symptoms or pains. And if that's constant, then the symptoms are going to be too. And if you have some pain-free or symptom-free times, notice your fear and attention levels during those times. Inevitably, the fear and attention is going to be down. Just talked to a lady today. When she's at work, she's fine, but every time she leaves work at 4 o'clock, boom, here come the symptoms. It's not because 4 o'clock means anything. It's because that's when her brain stops being engaged in something that she's required to focus on. And she's not thinking about her symptoms. She's not fearing them. She's not focused on them, not giving them attention. Therefore, they're much, much better while working. And then when she's not working, they go up again. What's interesting is her brain became programmed to 4 o'clock. That even happens on the weekend. So why is it on the weekend that when she's not focused on work up until 4 p.m., she does pretty much okay, just like it's because the brain has assigned 4 p.m. to be when things start to hurt. It's an incorrect assumption on the brain's part. It is purely an expectation, and when the brain expects something, predictive coding says the brain can create it. So, that being said, my suggestion to her was change the expectation. Be very clear that 4 o'clock means nothing. Stop paying attention to the time, particularly on the weekends, so you can prove to yourself it has nothing to do with work or being home, because there's nothing dangerous at home. It's purely a matter of expectations, and almost like you start to think about it and look for it. She may not be terrified, but she just expects it to be there. And the brain says, here you go. So it's interesting how all this stuff works. But is 24/7 pain or symptoms TMS? It absolutely can, and most often is. Right? So I hope this makes sense. Hope you're doing great. And like always, we'll see you tomorrow. Love you.